The one and only Steve McCurry. Good morning, Steve. Thanks for coming on this morning.
My pleasure. It's great to be with you.
Of course, your display of incredible photos is at Munson Williams right now, the world through his lens, Steve McCurry photographs. More than 60 large-scale photographs. These are incredible photographs, and we're really lucky to have this here in Utica. So, what's it like going to places like Afghanistan and Rome and all over the world and taking these incredible photos?
Well, I think that travel and, experiencing different cultures, meeting new people, seeing how people do different things in different parts of the world is, for me, one of the great parts of my life. And I think I can't imagine my life without travel. I started traveling when I was 19.
Yeah.
And I've traveled, I'm on the road at least half the year, every year. So to me, going to places, I've been to Afghanistan more than 30 times.
Wow.
Following the situation over the years. And it's to have the kind of an inside look at a place like Afghanistan, or, travel to Burma, or, other parts of the world is really I feel like I'm the luckiest man in the world.
It's funny. I talk about in my own personal experiences, the first time seeing something in person, in the Hoover Dam, Niagara Falls. I can't imagine going to these war-torn places in the world where you're seeing all of this in the news, and all of a sudden you just drop into it, and there you are with your camera.
Well, so often, you read the news, you watch the news on TV, and everything seems so dire and on the brink of disaster. And you actually get to the place, and it seems so normal, and it seems so matter of fact. And you think, well, what's the big deal? Right. I experienced that in Afghanistan. I was just there in March of this year. And, life goes on. People have businesses. People get married. There's weddings. Everything's, of course, underlying all that is real serious trouble and turmoil.
Yeah.
But my experience is that a lot of times there's a disconnect between what we see on TV and the reality when you're actually there in person.
I'm looking at a story in Time magazine, and there's a controversy over the Afghan girl. And what an amazing photo! What incredible eyes! You look like you're looking right inside the person. But you say you're a visual storyteller, not a photojournalist. Can you talk about that? And this was overtaking maybe a little Photoshop of something in the eye. Talk about that.
Well, there's zero Photoshop in the eye. There was back in 1984. There was a little bit of dirt on one of her eyes, which they decided to remove, which since then we've reinstated that. So there's zero Photoshop in that picture.
Those eyes are just incredible.
Yeah. No, it's this is one of the most scrutinized photographs in the history of photography.
Yeah.
I can promise you that if you look at the picture on the cover in 1985, you'll notice that small piece of dirt. But I've at this point, most of what I do now is books, exhibitions, personal projects. At my point in my life, I want to go to the places where I want to go to. I self-assign myself to places. I just have a book out on people reading around the world that's just come out in the last couple of weeks. I think it's a really fascinating to see how this common activity, which we all share, is in different countries around the world, is kind of shown in this book. So I'm very, very proud of that.
Well, it is probably I don't know. There aren't many photos that are more famous than the Afghan girl in the world.
Right. You see right into her soul. So Bill had used the word Photoshop. So that might not be I know that's a brand, and I think we think different things when we think of Photoshop. Was there some enhancement or altering, affecting done to some of the photos?
You're talking about the Afghan girl?
Well, some of the ones that photojournalists had said, you can't do that, you shouldn't do that. Why is he doing that? Maybe the Afghan girl among them, yeah.
Yeah, no, I can tell you that the Afghan girl has not been altered in the least. Ansel Adams talked about the creative process, and about half of the creative process took place after the picture was taken. So I think that's a prime example of how, in the dark room, a photographer can make the picture more dramatic or whatever. But if you look at Ansel Adams' pictures of Yosemite and different places in the West, and you look at the original negative, and you look at how he, he often talked about the negative was the score and the print was the performance.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good standard by which to judge photography.
Andrew.
I'm looking at several of the photos on your website, more specifically the portraits, and you see these are beautiful photos, but sometimes the subject matter reflects something that may not be so beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit about your process? Do you take a photo and then get to know the person of the subject a little more, or do you do a lot of time? You spend a lot of time with these, maybe the people in a village or something like that. I'm looking specifically at the portrait of the young man with the assault rifle.
Well, I think that I'm not sure which picture you're referring to. Maybe it's a little boy with his father. But I think that disturbing pictures which are often uncomfortable, I think everybody, all of us in the world have our own story. I think that I don't think I would want to shy away from if there's a picture of a situation out there on the street.
Yeah.
I think everything needs to be examined. I think life is not all beautiful. Sometimes there's lumps and warts which need to be shown too.
It's interesting. And when you go, I mean, today you have the luxury of being able to pick and do what you love to do. And that's an amazing accomplishment, an amazing point, I imagine, in your life. But when you go off, do you pick I'm going to look for poverty here? Or do you go to a place and it's the photos that tell you, that really direct where you're going?
Well, I look at a place like Cuba. We've been told for my whole lifetime that we weren't allowed to go to Cuba.
Right.
That's a place which I've been to 4 times now. We're fascinated with Cuba. We've all been looking at that situation. I wanted to see it for myself. I want to go to Iran. Again, that's been in the news heavily since 1979, the revolution. I want to go and sort of see that for myself and see what, look at the culture, look at the people. I've been to Ethiopia recently, into the Omo Valley and different places. So I just pick places in the world that fascinate me, places I want to go and learn from. It's not, I've spent, this last week I was in Italy. I go to Italy several times a year. So it's not just, undeveloped countries. I like all sorts of places. I've been in Japan 4 times this year on various projects. So, I love Japanese and their sensibility of design and the Buddhist culture there. So, no, I have a wide range of interests, and I love traveling, and I like that lifestyle.
Well, and it's I've heard right, especially during this political season where it's just so crazy right now. You look on TV and you've got, and maybe it was a Dan Rather interview. He was talking about how you just put 4 people in the room and they're all have different opinions. They've never been to the place, but they know everything about, let's say, Afghanistan or Iraq. They've never been there, but boy, can they argue till the cows come home about it. The value of, and this is really what you're talking about here, the value of going there and seeing it for yourself and documenting it is incredibly important.
Yeah, though you talk about this bizarre election. I think that to be able to go to a place like Afghanistan or Yemen, and to be able to see these places, Colombia in South America, and to see these situations, is invaluable. And to be able to meet these people and put the human element behind this geographical area. And I know many Afghans. They're incredible people.
Yeah.
I know many Somalian people who are just the most charming and have such a great sense of humor. And to kind of demonize and to say, these people shouldn't be allowed into our country, lump them all together.
Yeah.
Muslims all together is just completely unacceptable. It's so counter to who we are as a nation. I mean, I came from somewhere else. Everybody has come from somewhere else. I mean, I remember as a kid, the Italians in our neighborhood were sort of demonized and vilified. I mean, it's just, it's unacceptable. We should really, we should really stand up against this sort of bigotry.
I'm with you on that one. That's, for me, all those issues are key for me when I try to decide who I'm going to vote for in this race. You have a quick question?
Yeah, quick question is you've gone to all these places, especially in the current election season. How are you received being an American photographer?
I have to say from the beginning, when the first time I traveled in 1969, and then I started doing it much more earnestly in 1978. I've never had a problem. Maybe once or twice somebody wanted to get into a political discussion, but I've always been treated as an individual, as a judge on my own terms, and I never had a problem ever anywhere. And I've been all over the world, multiple times. So no, I've never experienced that.
Talking to Steve McCurry, of course, you can see his incredible photos, including the Afghan girl at Munson Williams, now on display through December 31st. I want to ask you a couple quickies, and then we'll let you go. I feel like I'm just smothering you here with questions. Okay, iPhone and cell phones. Everybody has a camera everywhere they go. Can you give somebody a tip on taking a picture? And is the iPhone world where these filters, you can add on the software, and these pictures look beautiful, is this all good for all of us? What are your thoughts?
I think it's outstanding. I think it's the best thing that could have happened to have great camera quality in our cell phones. I think we should all take as many pictures. I fill up my phone all the time with cell phone pictures. I wish I had a great cell phone with a camera, 20 or 30 years ago. I think it's for us to be able to document our lives, our families, our friends, birthday parties, weddings. It's just, I think, such a great turn of events. But I just want to interject one quick thing. Having been to Vietnam recently and Cuba, you think these people would be able, I got such a warm reception in these places, despite the fact that we've had not a great history with them. Yeah. So I think we should be, thank our lucky stars in some ways.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Last question. You're human. You're a guy. You have family around you, and that family, cousin Joe has his daughter's getting married. Well, who do they call? Steve, can you do our wedding? Does anybody? I mean, do you have family members that call you and say, "Are you a guy like a guy with a pickup truck?" And the family was moving. Of course, they're going to call you.
Yeah. Well, I don't get those calls because I'm usually not at home.
Yeah.
But no, I don't actually get those calls. I've had photographed weddings back in my early days, back in the early 70s, and actually they can be quite interesting and fun, and you can make some wonderful pictures. But I think it's better for them to hire a professional wedding photographer who I'm sure could do a much better job than myself.
Well, I just see you as being the guy with the pickup truck who, everybody calls the guy with the pickup truck the minute they want to move something. So, listen, it is a pleasure to speak with you, and your photos, the fact that we have them here in this beautiful museum in Utica is just amazing. And Steve McCurry, thank you so much for taking the time this morning.
My pleasure. It's great to be with you. Thank you.
Thanks.